My name is Kerrie, and my goal is to inspire healing and meaning in all areas of life. In this podcast, we will dive deep into conversations. From heartbreak to freedom, we will explore different self-care modalities, learn to be the best expressions of ourselves, and to live with purpose. I'm here to offer my personal insights and to share my story in hopes that it will guide you on your path. This is Heal with Care, a journey of self-discovery. While standing out in the open, feeling vulnerable and fully visible, I showed up in my community as an intuitive energy healer. I've definitely faced my share of challenges. Over the past year, I've become more aware of how energy healing is perceived within my community. While it's growing in popularity, there's still a great deal of skepticism around it. I've had people come up to me and tell me that if what I'm doing isn't connected to the church or Jesus Christ, then it's irrelevant. Others approach me listing all their physical pains and ailments, hoping for instant cures. I've been criticized for charging for my healing services, and I've also experienced bullying and intimidation. In this episode, I want to share some of the most uncomfortable experiences I've had, along with reflections that came from them. I want to open up about what it's really been like as a spiritual entrepreneur, the things that no one tells you until you've experienced them firsthand. I have heard stories of other spiritual entrepreneurs being told that what they're doing is the devil's work. And for a long time, I felt so grateful I had never experienced this for myself. Until I was approached by people within the religious community. I grew up Catholic. I was baptized as a baby. I attended Catholic schools, went to Sunday school, and I got confirmed. At an early age, I questioned so many things. Maybe I was just too philosophical, always contemplating something. So slowly I began to step away from the church because it never really resonated with me. I started to do everything I could to avoid going to services, making a fuss so my parents would leave me behind, begging not to go inside and waiting in the car, or excusing myself to wander the grounds of the church or make extra trips to the bathroom. While many people simply followed what they were taught, something in me was resisting it. Although I can see how religion gives people faith and hope and a sense of connection, for me, it felt restrictive. I felt like I was boxed in, almost suffocating. I remember constantly hearing about all the things that you should or shouldn't do or think. At times, it felt as though no matter what I would do, I was simply human and would somehow still be committing a sin. And I found myself wondering, if everything is going to be sending me to hell, then what's the point in trying? So I made a decision. I was going to live my life in a way that felt true to my heart and free myself from the restrictions of organized religion. At one point, I considered myself an atheist. Even though I still believe there's something greater out there, I no longer saw myself as a religious follower. I would rather go to the beat of my own drum, following my intuition, because that feels more authentic for me. With that being said, I've learned to respect the beliefs of others. I trust that we're all on our own individual paths, each with free will and with the right to choose what resonates with us. Some of us are simply born into families and cultures where certain beliefs are deeply rooted. We know what we know, and we often don't question it unless we decide to explore beyond it. The more we learn, the more choices we have. It's all part of the learning curve. Even though I've been introduced to many different beliefs and met many people from different faiths, I truly believe we can coexist in harmony if we chose to. The reason I bring all of this up is because I never expected to be confronted so directly about religion. I've been questioned or even pressured to explain my own beliefs surrounding Jesus and God in a religious context. My relationship with Jesus has been a complicated one because for a long time I rejected him because of the negative experiences I've had with churches. But over the past few years, through doing a great deal of inner work, I've started to repair that relationship. I've come to realize that Jesus is not a religion. He was a very enlightened man. It's the people who decided to worship him in very ritualistic ways. I don't worship him, but I view him as a teacher and a source of inspiration. To me, he represents someone who deeply understood healing, compassion, and connection. Someone who would meet people with love and support those who are ready to receive it. When I was taking my Reiki Level 2 training, during one of my meditations, Jesus showed up. He didn't look like the way he was traditionally portrayed. He had dark, short hair, he didn't have a beard, and he was surrounded by playful children. My first reaction was, "What are you doing here?" I was a bit disappointed, a little bit angry. Why was he here? I had resisted him for so many years, even felt so much resentment towards him. But the more I surrendered to the experience, I felt nothing but an open heart and kindness for this man. After that experience, we went for lunch, and in the car, the radio was on and the name Jesus came through within the first few seconds of being in the car. We weren't listening to a radio station or anything like that. It was just the timing of the song was perfect, letting me know that he was there. Even though I had spent most of my teenage years and early adult life avoiding him, I started to reflect on why he might be appearing in my experiences. Then I began to see him differently, slowly beginning to repair my relationship with him. I realized he was the perfect example of a healer, someone with a pure heart, unafraid of the sick, and someone who met others with love and respect. Someone who was so deeply connected to what he called God, and for me, I call this the universe. Over time, the more I sat with this information, the more it shifted my perspective, and now I see him as a role model of love, compassion, and healing. Another time, I was in a yoga practice in Savasana when all of a sudden, a wave of peace washed over me. I wasn't entirely sure what I was experiencing, but I felt a strong presence that I later realized was Mary Magdalene. I didn't know much about her, but I was later guided to a book all about her. During this experience, there was this rush of calm, expansive energy that came over me, and I felt as though I was in the presence of pure love. I had absolutely nothing to worry about, and nothing mattered. I just was. I had never experienced such profound peace in my entire life, and even though it only lasted brief moments, I am so grateful to have had that experience. I've also experienced moments where people have tried to intimidate me or discourage me from continuing my work as an energy healer. One person in particular, whenever they see me, they tell me that they've knocked down many Reiki masters before me. I'm not entirely sure what their intention is, especially since they also describe themselves as a healer. But the more I sat with this interaction, the more I began to see that they were ego tripping, an attempt to instill fear over someone to make themselves feel better in the process. Through my own experiences of peace and the realization that love is the core of healing, I've come to understand that fear has no place in true healing. In fact, it does the opposite. If someone leaves an interaction feeling more fearful than supported, grounded, and more at ease, then that isn't healing. As practitioners, I believe we carry a responsibility in how we show up for others. Of course, we are human and still navigating our own journeys as well, but I do my best to embody the qualities I value within my own healing practice. The last thing I want to do is leave someone feeling diminished, and yet this is what I feel this person was trying to do with this interaction. While it has been disheartening and frustrating at times being in the community, it has also given me space to reflect. It's pushed me to examine my own beliefs, question my place as an energy healer, and learn to stand more firmly in what I know through my own lived experiences. Without these encounters, I may not have learned how to stand more fully in my power. I'm not here to convince anyone. I simply know what I have experienced and what I continue to witness through my own work. Through being an energy healer, I've had to work deeply on my relationship with money. Money means something different to everyone, and the value people place on it varies depending on their experiences and perspective. If I ask someone what $1 means to them, one person might say a lot, while another might say it's nothing. Value is personal. I often think about it like buying a blender. I'm using this example because it's based on my experience. I could buy a blender for $30 and it can break within a couple of days. I can buy a blender for $100 and that might last a couple of years. I can also buy a blender for $400 and it will continue to work well over time. In many ways, the more you invest, the more you tend to get out of it. When it comes to offering services though, pricing becomes much more personal. I've been questioned about my credentials and schooling, but Reiki is something anyone can learn. It's an energetic practice that exists within all of us and is activated through attunements or placements. What differs from practitioner to practitioner is how we carry ourselves, the energy that we bring into our work, and the space we hold for others. I price my services according to what feels energetically aligned for me, and every practitioner will approach that differently. Some charge more, some charge less, and ultimately that choice is personal. To me, money is simply another form of energy exchange. When you strip it down, it's paper, or just numbers in cyberspace. Depending on someone's relationship with money, they may see a price and think it's way too expensive, while someone else might look at it and be like, hey, that's completely reasonable. Over time, I've realized I'm not here to serve everyone. I'm here to serve the people that I'm meant to serve. And part of that means allowing myself to be visible and available so other people can find me. In some Eastern cultures, spiritual work is offered freely, but practitioners are also very supported by their communities. They are housed, they are fed, they are cared for by the collective. Where I live, things are different. And an equal energy exchange, which in my case is money, helps support my basic needs, such as housing, food, bills, and daily living. I live quite simply, but I've also learned that I need to be mindful of my own energy. When I undercharge or overextend myself, I begin to feel exhausted and depleted, and people often don't see that side of this work. Those who don't believe in what I do may never see the value in it, and that's okay. But for those who feel called to go deeper within themselves and are ready for transformation, I'm here to hold space for them. While some people come to me listing all their physical ailments and asking if I can cure them, this is where things become more complex. What I've come to notice is that our emotional state and our physical body are deeply connected. At the same time, not every illness or condition is emotional in nature. Some ailments are physical and may have some emotional roots, and some it can be a combination of both. I think about the ways our bodies naturally respond to emotions. When I feel anxious or nervous, my stomach hurts. When I'm scared, my heart begins to race. When I have too much on my mind, I get headaches, or when I'm stressed, my shoulders become tight. Our bodies constantly communicate with us through physical sensations, reflecting back to us how we are feeling internally. We can become physically impacted by our emotions we haven't fully processed, which is why I believe it's so important to turn inwards and develop self-awareness. In many ways, our outer experience mirrors our inner world. When we find peace within ourselves, we often begin to experience more peace around us as well. Someone once told me that the way we judge others is the way that we judge ourselves. And that really stayed with me. Over time, I realized I was being far harder on myself than anyone else ever could be. The more compassion and love I began to show myself, the less critical I became of others. Now, when something doesn't go so well or something triggers me emotionally, I try to turn inward and ask myself what it may be reflecting back to me. The reason I share this is because healing is often an internal journey. As we begin acknowledging certain emotions, experiences, or wounds within ourselves, something starts to shift. We may feel lighter, more relaxed, more at peace. Sometimes, as emotional burdens are released, physical symptoms can lessen as well. After a car accident years ago, I developed muscle twitches throughout my body. At the time, I carried so much anger and frustration about what had happened. I hated that it happened to me. I didn't see it coming, and it completely disrupted the plans I had for my life. I now realize how much I was holding onto these emotions, and in many ways, my body was holding onto them too. One day, I decided to approach these parts of myself differently. Instead of fighting what had happened, I began to show myself compassion. I accepted that I couldn't control the situation or change the past. I allowed myself to acknowledge the pain, frustration, and grief I had been carrying, and I consciously began sending love to those parts of myself that were hurting. Within a few weeks, I noticed that the muscle twitches disappeared. At the time, I didn't know if doing that inner work could actually change anything physically, but I was finally ready to stop dwelling in the pain and the past and move forward. And something within me shifted when I did. I share these stories and reflections with you because they've been a part of my own journey. These moments are the ones that challenged me and pushed me to grow. I've learned that when we come up against resistance, one of the most powerful things we can do is turn inward and reflect, rather than immediately accept the projections of others. Because that's often what they are, people projecting their own beliefs and opinions onto us. And in the end, it's our choice whether we carry those projections or remain true to ourselves. Over time, I've learned to turn towards my higher self for guidance rather than look outside myself to seek validation and approval. I could have easily taken on the beliefs people try to place on me, their views about money and service, diminishing my worth, their assumption that intuition can't be developed, or religious beliefs and expectations around what healing should look like. But through all of these experiences, I've come to understand that I'm not here to serve everyone. I'm here to connect with the people who are genuinely aligned with my work and ready for it. And if I don't show up authentically in these spaces, my people will never find me. These experiences have helped me gain clarity around who is aligned with my path and who isn't. As a spiritual entrepreneur, you open your heart to the world with the intention of serving others. And not everyone you meet will resonate with that work. And that's okay. What matters is that you continue showing up anyway. There is courage in allowing yourself to be seen. There is courage in believing in your work, even when others don't understand it. Every challenge, every uncomfortable interaction you face, and every moment of doubt becomes an opportunity to grow stronger in who you are and what you stand for. Failure isn't facing obstacles or criticism. Failure is abandoning yourself and giving up on what really matters to you. Thank you so much for listening in. I hope you found this episode insightful. If you feel called to, please share this podcast, subscribe to it, and leave a rating and review. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback, you can email me at healwithcare@gmail.com or follow me on Instagram at healwithcare. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next episode.